Oh, people on the internet, it's Wednesday night, and everybody's asking the question they ask every week at this time. It's, hey, did you see this one? Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Your host this week, Steven.
Hello, it's me, Steve, your host of this week's episode of Hey, did you see this one? This week, we're talking about a movie that I saw when I was a kid once and have never seen since until today. But yeah, it was good. It's the movie that we're going to talk about is Meteor Man, starring Robert Townsend, also directed by Robert Townsend, and also written by Robert Townsend. So
What's
I'm pretty sure
what's
this
the
was
word for that?
a triple threat. There is a name for it. I can't remember what it is though. It's also mostly a negative thing. It's like
I was gonna say,
a
isn't that
vanity
like that
project.
and do your
It's like
own
it's called a vanity project if you write it, direct it, and
vanity?
star in it.
Yeah,
Vanity.
that's the word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he in this movie he doesn't really make himself out to be like I mean he's literally a superhero, but he's like a dweeb, you know. He's not like in a lot of vanity projects the people are infallible and uncompromisable and bulletproof, like not literally, but they're just like they have so much plot armor around them they can never fail. Anyway, the movie Meteor Man, it came out what 1993, I think. Yeah, in 1993. It's about a man who gets hit by a meteor and gets superpowers, and then he uses those powers to defend his neighborhood from a really, really cool gang that I love. I absolutely love
The
this gang
Golden
so much.
Lords.
Yeah, I love them so much. It gave me an idea for a gang in the universe of D&D that I have created.
Nice.
It would be sort of a carbon copy, except it would mostly just be everybody has super blonde hair. Anyway, let's go around the circle and talk about the first time that we saw this movie.
Before
Yes.
we do that, though, we should mention that it is still technically Fan Picks December.
Oh, right. I forgot about that. Yeah, we didn't pick this one. This was suggested to us by one of our viewers.
Shout out to Flash Mania.
Flash Mania asked us to do Meteor Man, and we all said, okay. And we did. And here we are, ready to talk about it.
Also, my Flash Mania, my pal Aaron, my childhood friend Aaron, Tim last week, fan of the show. Aaron was right there with Tim at the beginning, and those guys both have many fan picks. We picked these two for them. I just wanted to give a shout out to Aaron. He was supposed to actually guest tonight, but we had to. The podcast got moved around a bunch this month. We had originally intended on doing all 4 weeks as fan picks, but we couldn't do the first week because of some stuff. And now we're just doing last week and this week as our fan picks, and we might pick we might have them on the show maybe in February. We might do a fan picks a month earlier in the year next year or something of that nature. But Aaron, sorry we couldn't have you on in December, but we'll get you on right soon. So I just wanted to give him a little how do you do? Little
all right.
Tip of the hat.
See you soon, Aaron, maybe.
See you soon, Aaron.
Hey, Ron.
Hey,
if
Ron.
you're not a coward. Okay, so yeah, we'll go around. I'll go first. The movie Meteor Man. I first saw this when I was very young, to the point that it kind of scared me a little bit. That's how young I was when I saw it. I was probably 5 years old when I saw this movie. And, you know, violence kind of freaked me out. The idea of gangs really freaked me out, and like corrupting children scared the hell out of me, because I'm like, am I gonna get inducted into a gang one day? Is this gonna happen to me? But you watch the movie now and you're like, oh man, it's so tame, but also pretty great. Like, I was surprised at how well this movie held up in terms of story and even production. You could tell there was a lot of thought and care put into everything, but we'll get into that later on. Maybe I saw bits and pieces of it again throughout my life up until this point, but I don't really have any memory of it. And I used to, when I was in high school, confuse this movie, not entirely, but bits and pieces of this movie with Demolition Man. And strongly believe that it has something to do with the fact that Wesley Snipes looks like he could be a member of the Golden Lords in that movie. He's got the same look going on. But
his look in he's in Judge Dredd, or is he in Repo Man?
Demolition Man.
Demolition Man. His look in Demolition Man is very similar. He just doesn't have blonde hair, I believe.
He does have blonde hair in Demolition Man.
Right. Okay. There you go.
That's why you confused them too.
Yeah, that's the reason I thought they were the same movie. So like there were times where I'd be watching Demolition Man as like a 12-year-old, and I'd be like, isn't there a superhero in this movie at some point? Like, doesn't he show up and beat him up? Or I can't remember. But then watching it today, I was like, you know what? I actually remembered a lot more of this movie than I thought I would, considering I was 5 or 6 years old when I watched it. But yeah, today is the first time I've watched it from beginning to end in a very long time. And we will move on to Kalen. Kalen, when's the first time you watched Meteor Man?
So I started watching it, I think it was 2 weeks ago when we were originally going to do it, but then paused for personal reasons. And then so the other night was the first time I watched it. But I do remember the cover of this movie standing out when I was a little kid, and walking through Chumbo Video, looking at movies to rent. I do remember the cover standing out. It was superhero gray and green in the power pose or whatever. It was a very memorable cover for whatever reason.
He's also on the moon on the cover. He doesn't go to the moon in the movie, right?
Is it the moon, or is it the meteorite, the very meteorite that hit him, turning him into Meteor Man?
Maybe. I mean, Jupiter is in the background. Very, very close. Maybe he's on one of the moons of Jupiter. Okay, anyway, so that's it? All right.
Also, and I saved the day for you guys.
What? I don't understand.
Google Drive or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. This movie is, like, impossible to find. It's not on streaming. You can't steal it. Somehow, Kalen opened up a portal to another dimension. I looked for hours last night to try to find this fucking movie. I changed my VPN to a bunch of different countries and checked all the streaming services of a bunch of different countries. Kalen opened up the Pandora's box of time and space, reached in and found the weirdest rip from the depths of the internet. He claims he got it from the Seven Seas site, but I didn't see it on there. I don't know.
I thought you said you found it, but it wasn't downloaded.
I found a bunch of copies, but the Cedars and Leechers didn't match.
The one person that Kalen downloaded it from saw it was being downloaded and was like, what
turn
the
that
fuck?
off. Turn that off.
No, he was like, why do I have Meteor Man? And deleted it right afterwards.
Yeah, you did do this a couple weeks ago, so it could have been it could have literally been a person had their shit
just
turned on.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, I usually just don't try. I try not to find them from non-legitimate sources, and I tried every possible way, and then I even was going to order a physical copy. I'm like, I can probably find a Blu-ray
VHS or DVD?
cheap. Why? No, DVD. Why would I order it on VHS?
It's probably easier
Well,
to
did they
find
ever
on
make
vid.
this on DVD?
Modern TVs are very difficult to hook up to a VHS player. VHS.
I'm not disagreeing with that, but did they ever make this on DVD though? Is my question.
Yes, it's on Blu-ray.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it got put on Blu-ray somehow. But the only ones I could find wouldn't arrive until like February. And I was
Also,
like, okay, well, I guess I have to.
Steve, I know
become
you
a
love
pirate.
facts. It's actually not very hard at all to hook a VCR up to a modern TV. It
isn't?
No, it's extremely easy, in fact.
Maybe it's because I just haven't ever tried and I assumed it was hard.
You can hook it up to the coax, and you can actually get like RGB cables
Adapter?
for them.
Sorry, what I meant to say is it's very hard to find
a
VHS
VCR.
player.
Yeah, it's so much so that you're calling it a VHS player.
That's what you play inside of them.
And did you say something in the chat? It was like $180 or something? Or were you being...
There was one that was $180, and that was the one that would come very quickly.
Was
And
it
then-
unopened?
Kalen, I saw the price. I didn't read the fucking description. So I was like, this is crazy.
Could you imagine your dedication to this? We've made a total of about $90 from this show. I've spent much more than that Could you imagine if you shelled out $180 for this special
Meteor Man.
holiday episode?
It's got the director's commentary by Robert Townsend. Also, he's joined by the writer Robert Townsend and the star Robert Townsend. Anyway, let's move on. Jason, when's the first time you watched this movie?
I'll tell you right now that I have the most experience out of all of us with this movie. When I was 8 years old, I remember when this movie came out. I didn't see it in theaters, but I remember when it came out. And from probably age 8 to age 10, I used to have sleepovers at my friend Chris and Jason's place. I used to get babysat there, so I'd be there all the time. And we'd have sleepovers frequently on the weekend. Like I get babysat after school on Friday, and then I just have a sleepover. It's not like that, Caitlin. Not everything is. Anyway, we would rent this fucking movie like every weekend, constantly. Like I had these weird pangs of nostalgia watching this, like I had seen the movie yesterday. There were things that I picked up on because I'm now in my late 30s. I'm an adult. This movie is one of those movies that's like for kids. It's like a family comedy superhero thing, but it's kind of got that edge to it, so the adults can be like, ha, sex jokes. But
I laughed out loud so hard at one very specific joke in this movie, and it was just Don Cheadle's acting that really killed it. It was so funny. I'll talk about it later, I guess.
It might have been the same thing that I thought that was extremely funny too. Was it when he goes, okay?
That was good as well. A lot of Don Cheadle stuff was, because it was like the perfect take for every response. Like it's all reactionary, right? Like it's the part where they're runway dancing, or not dancing, modeling, and he's like, "What's wrong with your boy?" And he's like, "My boy." I like cuts away from him before he says anything. It's so funny.
It does have, and it's a movie from 1993, but you can see a lot of the prototypical ideas for like family superhero movies that would come later. But anyway, to in summation, basically, I've probably seen this movie 30 times, but I haven't seen it since I was 9 or 10 years old. And these, what I find about these movies that we're watching, like when we did The Sandlot, any of those early 90s movies, they have this weird film grain to them. You don't notice in the time because everything looked like that. And I always wonder, and this happens actually when a movie from like 2015 actually almost has that same effect because it's an older thing. And I'm wondering if there's ever going to be a breaking point. Like we were talking about The Matrix 4 today, and when I saw The Matrix 4, I was like, this looks like a movie made for a streaming service. It's very bright, it's very polished looking, and I'm wondering if eventually down the road in 10 years they're going to watch The Matrix 4 and be like, oh, it's got that like old feel to it now. Like I wonder if it's just
maybe the shininess will be the old
the film grain is like also like they really don't film anything on film anymore, right? Like that's like 90% of the nostalgia you get for watching something filmed, even up until the very early 2000s when they started switching everything to digital, right? You can just see the visual switch. There's also like lighting things poorly on film add more grain to it. If you don't know how to film a certain scene, if you don't light it properly, the film grain is going to be a lot more obvious. I
am done. So if you want to move on to the body of the show.
Anyway,
baby.
But yeah, no, this movie has a very early 90s feel to it, but like in the best possible way. It has sort of that kind of stereotypical music for the time, the era, sort of like the light, sort of like like when people are walking around in the city, and it's like very pleasant, and it's just something that was kind of in everything. The soundtrack in this movie is actually pretty great. Like it's so classically stripped from a specific genres.
The pop music is like house trance, like dance mix.
Right, 95. Yeah, like
there's like a little bit of rap.
And there's like saxophone music for like the sad parts and like the romantic parts. It's like they take all the film cliches and they just sort of like wrap it around the movie in terms of the score. What is it that you'd like to say, Kayla?
Thank you. Did you guys get a hint of the Superman theme?
A little bit. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I thought
Also,
there was like the same instrument or somewhat of a same melody or something. Like there's a few moments where like, oh, that kind of sounds like Superman.
they have a fanfare, which is like, many movies have a fanfare, like a hero's theme, right? And like,
Right.
so it's like Star Wars or whatever, or like, like you said, Superman. Like there is sort of a telltale sort of triumphant riff that are in most movies that have to do with heroics, and this movie definitely have one, right?
If
But
you
there's
were
a lot of
playing-
music in.
If you were playing some sort of video game where you like cobble together scenes to make a movie and then you pick a soundtrack, there was a couple of those in this era. The soundtrack to this movie would be called Superhero 2 or Superhero 3. You know what I mean? Like, it was very generic, but at the time there weren't a lot of these like superhero movies that were bright. I think besides this, there's like Superman. All the other superhero movies were trending dark, like Batman.
Well, even Batman
Batman
is like super cartoony as well, right? It's just a different type of cartoony. They were all very cartoony, but yeah, this one is definitely sort of taking a page from Superman. Like, he basically has Superman's powers.
Yeah.
His goals are the same as Superman. He has a kryptonite, sort of, and it's playing off of like the typical superhero plot line, but it's like they're doing it in a fun way because they're making you like the characters. They're giving you interesting, fun, weird characters as well. It's not just like, this guy is getting superpowers and here's his neighborhood and they're all just like, cookie cutter or neighbors around the block, like stereotypical. Like the fact that James Earl Jones' character has like a weird wig obsession or like a youth obsession, and he's just constantly switching wigs. Is so funny and so good.
Switching wigs as his subplot throughout the whole movie. A fun fact: Aaron actually gave me some fun facts to say on the show. Interestingly enough. But the main thing I wanted to bring up was after this movie came out, Marvel Comics, I don't know if they bought the rights, but they definitely wrote a 6-issue miniseries. I think that's what the picture in Steve's background is from, where he teams up with Spider-Man. And that makes sense because I would say that Meteor Man is a similar kind of character to Spider-Man in that even though he's a grown-ass man, he's like, he wants to not fight. He's a dork.
He's a friendly neighborhood superhero.
He's a friendly neighborhood superhero. He wants to take the path of least resistance, but eventually he has to overcome. I'm pretty sure Peter Parker had a fear of heights at first. But you get over that fast if you can stick to walls or literally fly. There was a scene in this where he's flying like 3 feet off the ground, which I chuckled at. I was like, that's pretty good.
Also, I just want to apologize right quick. I checked our previous episodes, and the color in my beard makes it look like I'm scowling. / I have a resting bitch face, so I have to make sure I'm conscious of like trying not. I have to like basically smile the whole time.
Okay, what? You don't have to.
See how it goes down, and it just kind of makes my almost.
I think did someone tell you this, or is this just your own criticism of your own face?
Because I didn't. That's
my own criticism. I was watching the thing. I'm like,
okay, well then no need to bring it up on pod. What are you doing? So I guess he's a Marvel hero.
Stop frowning. Jeez.
Yeah, why are you so mad? So he's a Marvel hero. That's kind of cool. I wonder if they still own the rights to him. I'm looking at it right. I'm looking at it right now, and it says that many years later, the Golden Lords reappeared on the pages of Miles Morales' Spider-Man #5. So the Golden Lords, I guess, are like canonical.
Yo, the baby
modern
lords,
Spider-Cat or Spider-Cats, Spider-Man.
I think that it's time for an MCU reboot of Meteor Man, written and directed by Robert Townsend, where he plays old Meteor Man, and he's got that piece of meteor from Redacted, and also there. Yeah, I'm just gonna there's an elephant in the room for this movie, and a certain horrible assholes in it, and I don't really want to mention who it is.
Seems like a trending theme for our podcast these
Somehow
days.
It's an accident, but we'll just say it rhymes with Mill.
Last week we were talking about a fictional character from a Mark Twain book. We were being like, it's a horrible person on this one too, guys.
It rhymes with Mill Mosby.
The villain of Tom Sawyer himself.
He has a very, very, very small role, and when I was a kid, before we knew that Mill Mosby was a horrible, horrible person, I thought it was pretty funny, and it kind of plays as a cameo. He doesn't have any lines, and he's in.
He barks.
Yeah, I guess, which is like it's played for comedy, but now I just scowled at the television.
I wonder if it was like a union thing, because like there are certain aspects you have to meet within like the actors union to be in a movie, and if you don't meet them you get paid a certain amount, and it might have brought them over budget because he's such a huge star.
And also
I'm like, I wonder if they didn't give him any lines so that they could pay him a lot less. And like Bill Cosby, or are we not allowed to say his name? Like,
well, you can. I just don't want to say it personally, but yes, it's Bill Cosby.
Okay. I'm like,
Cosby,
is this a rule?
for William Cosby.
Anyway, this is just speculation. I'm wondering if it was like part of the plot that he never spoke except for barks, or if they were doing it to get around a budgetary thing.
My speculation too is that this was a huge production. It's a predominantly black movie, and it has all of the up and coming stars, current stars, and people of the era of black cinema in this film.
Yeah.
They like Robert Townsend probably wanted to just cover all his bases and get Bill Cosby to be in it. And you're probably
so they can put him in the trailer, and then everybody will come to the movie.
And he is sort of the character who helps out in the greatest time of need for the hero, but he doesn't completely save the day. He's just sort of like I don't even know what this kind of character is in movies, but he's just there to have something happen at the end. Like, he doesn't do anything throughout the fucking movie. He's there to sell seats in the theater, and he's there to just be a plot.
I do have a question about
have tragedy strike and then erase it or whatever.
Yeah.
How did he still have his powers though when
because the chunk of the rock didn't go inside of him. He was just holding on to it.
Yeah, and I doubt he was using it for dumb things like messing with the people.
Oh, so maybe he wasn't using up the full potential or whatever?
Yeah,
or he just was able to charge himself up by like touching the stone or something.
That too.
Yeah, but when he lost it, like at the end, like he drops it, right? And then, but he still has his powers later on to heal the dog.
I think the answer to that question is that Jeffrey Townsend's character Jeff was using his powers constantly, and there was that one part where he took like a firing range of men shooting at him, and he caught all the bullets and then noticed he was bleeding, and that's when he noticed his powers were depleting. I imagine if you're sitting in an alleyway, Bill Cosby's character was a homeless guy. He's sitting in an alleyway just kind of messing with people, like, your powers aren't going to deplete as fast. That's how I sort of
like that
plot armored that away, because I also wasn't trying to focus too hard on old Bill Mosby.
Yeah. Also, just like, it's a ridiculous premise.
It's
who knows how these meteors work? Maybe they're all based around emotion. You never know.
Yeah, it's also a very comic booky. Like, there's a lot of actual cartoon stuff in this movie. For instance, when he gets thrown through that bookmobile, they do that cartoon thing where he
stick to it.
Seems to hit every fucking book on the way through, which is 100% of cartoons. So it's, there's some stuff that maybe we don't think about too hard, and in lieu of wanting to not talk about Bill Cosby at all, we just kind of skip over.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about like reality and like why does this make sense? It's like, remember when he hits the car and he just has like perfect handprints, like looks like Play-Doh, like into the hood of the car. Like,
let's talk
the
about
car would
that
be destroyed.
A little bit, because
those people would be dead.
They spent probably a giant portion of the budget making these. It looked like cast iron. I don't know if it was like carved out styrofoam or what. It looked like metal. You know what I mean? I'm wondering if they spent a bunch of money on actually,
Well, the movie looks good. Like, it looks good. Like, the art department did a really good job. The costume even looks pretty dope at the end. Like, it doesn't, like a lot of movies that are low budget, the superhero costume always, you gotta hide it, right? Like, if you look at brightly lit pictures of the Batman costume from the first Batman, it's like, ugh. Yeah, more shadows, please. More shadows.
It's rubber with a lot of like stretchy kind of where the like joints and stuff are.
Yeah. And isn't like the mask has little like breaks right here?
Yeah, because they didn't make enough of them, and they were hand sculpted, right? Like, they made a mold. It's not like today where they go into a computer and make everything like perfectly symmetrical, and it's like somebody sculpted that.
Or
Like,
just
it's
fucking CGI the whole suit onto them, like they do.
Yeah,
in most
exactly.
MCU
Now it's like
movies.
you wear like a just a neckband to make it look like you're going into a suit of armor. But even like the Darth Vader helmet, when they made Revenge of the Sith, they scanned the Darth Vader helmet, and rather than just like replicate it, they tried to make it symmetrical. So they changed this. If you look at the helmet of Darth Vader in like Revenge of the Sith compared to the original movies, it looks completely different. And you're like, what is wrong with this?
It looks
a little smaller.
Yeah.
It's because they made it symmetrical perfectly. So it's like it looks different because the original Darth Vader helmet was sculpted by somebody.
And my stupid headcanon is like, oh, it's the prequels, so Darth Vader is younger.
Yeah, so he has the younger look. He's got a real youthful looking helmet.
Youthful looking helmet. And up until you actually saying that right there, I'm like, wow, wait, that's the dumbest thing ever. That's the stupidest.
They got to make it look real sleek and youthful.
That's possible. There's years in between the episodes, like the Star Wars episode.
But
it's more dinged up.
His helmet's not going to shrink.
No, but if it gets damaged, he gets a new one.
That's true.
And maybe they make it slightly different.
That's true.
He has a different Darth Vader costume in Return of the Jedi than he does in A New Hope, and that's mostly because the budget went up, and they're like, let's turn this Halloween costume into something that actually looks pretty cool.
Put more dials on his chest piece.
Yeah, well, it's like in the first one, he's just wearing like a cloth robe underneath a bunch of weird plasticky armor, and then in the third one, he's wearing like a full leather gimp outfit.
When does he have this? When does he have this version of the suit? The Hawaiian,
that comes this weekend.
The Hawaiian shirt version.
Is it a bikini?
Is that Hawaiian or a Christmas sweater?
Oh, actually, yeah, you're right. Well, no, it's like a tank top. I can't really.
Is it Argyle?
No, it's like
a Hawaiian like sunset or something. Shit.
Yeah, it's a sunset, and then it's like a tank top, that like a muscle shirt, and then underneath you can kind of see that it's just his regular costume. He's also wearing flippers. I have this Star Wars.
He's got a scuba.
Yeah, I have this Star Wars fucking.
Anyway, I just I wanted to like give a tip of the hat to the costume in this because I forgot that there was one. I was like, is he just like fighting his clothes the whole time? And then he has his like crappy one that is made for him from earlier on, right? But
he has that great montage of really awful suits.
Yeah.
I will say though that the costume, my nostalgia kicked in, and it actually looked worse the first time that they show it. But the poster makes it look great, and there's parts throughout the movie that like it looks fine. It's just like the initial shot.
I was expecting it to look terrible, so when it showed up, I was like, oh.
The initial
up until not too long ago, superhero costumes always look kind of goofy on screen,
goofy
right?
As shit.
Yeah.
The initial shock of seeing it though, I was like, ugh, because I'm so used to literally like they just either print it or they CGI it on. Like Black Panther, for instance, there's no Black Panther suit in real life.
There probably is one.
There is, but it's not the one that they do all the action with.
It looks more like the Mysterio real life suit with the triangles on it.
The trackers.
Yeah. Probably, I don't know.
All right.
What's funny? What's funny, Steve? My speculation.
I was just thinking about the Mysterio suit and how you said they're trackers, and I was like, what the fuck does that even mean? Oh, did you hit record? Sorry, that's my alarm telling me to tell you to hit record.
Yeah.
Motion trackers.
I was like, oh, and then my brain was like, they do have eyeballs on them. That makes sense.
Oh.
And then I giggled in my head. I was like, so anyway, where are we at here? So I guess we could do like a little brief synopsis of the movie because it's super simple. Basically, a guy lives in a neighborhood that is sort of overrun by gangs, but like him and his community all care a great deal about the community itself, and you know the elders of the township are kind of like trying to form a proper community watch and make sure that they eliminate all violence and crime in their neighborhood. You see some examples of the gangs in that area. The predominant scene is like Don Cheadle, I guess, trying to sell some sort of weird vile drugs. I don't know what the drugs are.
It was crack.
Was it crack?
It was crack.
Great.
It was crack, but when they go to the cocaine factory later, which there's some things that I want to talk about with that.
That shit was hilarious. We'll get to it.
But it was cocaine. But the times when they mention it, they say crack.
Okay. I wasn't sure if they should have made up some sort of weird science fiction drug in this because everything else was so over the top, you know, like
Venom, Poison N.
I didn't say you make it up. I said they should have.
Bazango
in 1993. Yeah.
Hey man, you got that Bazango?
I need to get a hip of the Zippo. Give me some of that Zippo.
Give me a hip of the Zippo.
I need a hip of the Zip.
I'm driving. That's what you say when you need a hip of the Zippo.
Driving on Zippo right now, baby.
You need a light?
So they are kind of like trying and failing, I guess, the elders, right? And he witnesses some of the children in his neighborhood that he, knows robbing a woman, and then we get the coolest scene ever, which is like the full reveal of the Golden Lords, which is like so good, man. I was like, you hear the noise that the two Golden Lord kids kind of disappear off to the sides as like an army of like 12-year-olds come out. They're all wearing the same clothes, black clothes with like gold hair. And then the elders come out. They all look kind of individualized. Like they don't have the exact same uniform. They've got their own sort of personalities and
maybe different ranks too.
Probably,
could be, or it just could be like you can customize your uniform if you're like a general, and then you've got like the top guys that come in at the end.
And the main bad guy.
See that the noise is being made by a slinky, which is so great. And
I want
the slinky's coming out. A guy comes out with a fucking tiger on a
fucking
chain.
tiger. Then we also notice you're just walking at the tigers. They got their money out of this tiger. It's all over this fucking movie.
I mean, this is why these guys reappeared in the Miles Morales comic, because they're
Mike
fucking
Tyson
sick.
have a tiger at this point in time? 93?
Definitely not. He was still boxing in 1993. And also, that's just a meme from a movie. I did like this element.
I'm pretty sure he actually had a tiger, didn't he?
He probably, maybe. I like that the main bad guy had like a sheriff's star, but like an oblong one that was like shaped differently, indicating that he was like in the position of power. And also the Golden Lords kind of had this like so there's this moment where they want to the town hall, they're talking about what to do about the fucking just the regular criminals. The Golden Lords aren't even a part of it yet, and they want to put on these hats, and in the 80s orange hats that whistle. Say like neighborhood watch. And in the 80s there was that neighborhood, what the fuck were they called? What was that group in the 80s?
Guardian Angels.
The Guardian Angels. These guys kind of play as a reverse Guardian Angels almost. So I thought that was interesting that he had that thing, that star that looked like a sheriff's star. Also, props to James Earl Jones for keeping it real with what would happen to someone wearing an orange hat and a whistle, found dead with an orange hat and a whistle up his butt, I believe was his... I'm pretty sure that when I was 9 years old, that was the funniest joke I had ever heard. So. Yeah. James Earl Jones
great that when Darth Vader is saying it.
Yeah.
With a whistle up his butt.
James Earl Jones in this movie is like the weirdest. He's also like he's like the talking version of Bill Cosby's character. He's just in it. He's just there, probably to sell tickets. He's probably in the trailer, but he's friends with Robert. Probably. He has an interesting like arc that's mostly hat related or wig related, but he does have a thing that I'm calling Chekhov's record, because in the very opening, one of the opening scenes when he meets Jeff, why not? They talk.
I'm calling it Chekhov's record.
Chekhov's record, and I'll tell you what.
The same concept, but it's not a gun this time. Gotcha.
Same concept. He's like, can I borrow your records? And can I listen to your whatever record? And he's like, reminded me of me and my DVDs. Exactly. I would never lend it to you. I'd rather cut my hands off. They'd be better used for throwing or something. And then fast forward to the final battle.
He perfectly hits a guy's wrist from like half a full block away,
whole building up to
with a Billie Holiday record.
But we get a really weird shot of him realizing like I have to help, and he's crying.
Yeah.
Like the crying.
He's like giving like
eyes.
a crazy performance.
Like
in that
Angela
scene.
Bassett in the new Black Panther. Like it's just why is your acting so good in this fucking superhero movie?
Because it's like if you're an actor and you're a good actor, you just give the same
You
level
just
of
go
quality
nuts.
performance no matter what
Yeah.
it is. James
It's
Earl
always-
Jones is like, I have to cry. All right, let me just think about something that
Let me
makes
just think
me
about
very
Darth
sad for
Vader
a moment.
dying, and how when they pulled
Yeah.
the helmet off, it wasn't me.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, little tangent there.
Yeah.
Chekhov's record.
Chekhov's
Also,
record.
I can't wait. How expensive are wigs? I kind of want I would like to have a bunch of different wigs.
They're expensive.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can get shitty wigs for cheap if you want to have just some terrible ass
I
like
think-
wiry
Yeah, I think
plastic
there's like
wigs.
I think there's like 3 types of wigs. There's like party wigs, like from the costume store.
Super
Then
cheap,
there's
yeah.
like mid-range wigs, right? That,
Like for mannequins.
Well, for mannequins, and like some people wear them, they're not the best quality. And like,
or they're wearing them not to convince you that it's real hair, but it's like it looks good, right? Like
but then
people
there's
wear
like
them on
movie wigs. And those
where
even
it's like a
range.
flap of skin that they glued to your forehead so that
Made
you have a
with-
proper hairline.
made
So,
with horse hair or sometimes real human hair.
It's usually made from real hair. Like, yeah, a lot of the time. They just buy bags of human hair and
It's
someone
true.
plucks it into a piece of rubber for
You
like
can,
17 hours.
Some hair cutting places, some barbershops, you can be like, take my hair and give it to the cancer children.
Jesus.
I tried to do that, but my hair wasn't long enough.
Same.
My one of my friends, he isn't happy with his hair. He doesn't have much of it, and so instead of haircuts, he gets new hats. That's his version of a haircut.
Do you
He'll
want to
get a
know
new
the
hat.
irony of that? Hats are bad for balding. So he's accelerating it.
Perpetuating
The thing about, I did actually donate my hair one time to charity, but my hair, the ponytail they cut off was like this long. Like my hair was down to like here. And I think that's sort of like, that's where it starts. I don't think you can just get your head, like Kaylin, you buzz your head. I don't think you'd be able to like buzz your head and be like, send this to the needy kids. And they're
No,
like,
because it's not like they're not plucking that single hair into it to make it that long, right? They're weaving it in. Like it needs to be long because they have to like
Right.
literally make a sweater out of your hair to put on your head, basically. I wanted to talk more about the Golden Lords.
I
'cause
know.
think they're so cool.
You love the Golden Lords. I love it.
It's like it's when the moment that when I was watching it today, where I was like, this movie kind of rules. This movie's kind of dope. The tiger kind of put me over the edge. I was like, no fucking way, these guys just have a tiger. That's so cool.
In my head, it goes like Superman, Batman '89, Batman Returns, Meteor Man, and then there's a long swath of time where they try a bunch of nonsense, and then Spider-Man or X-Men, and then Spider-Man. And Meteor Man, I think, absolutely is in the conversation for moving this genre forward. And there's a lot of elements of this movie that are used in even the MCU. There's no MCU movie that's really this family oriented and campy, but there are TV shows, and Ant-Man is sort of the family MCU franchise. And I see a lot of parallels with Ant-Man and Ant-Man and Wasp, and especially the first Ant-Man and this. But we don't get a Golden Lord. So Steve, tell what are we going to say about the Golden Lords?
Tell us more.
Kaylin, stop frowning.
Well, I kind of was like, I want to see more of the Golden Lords for one. I want to see like a Golden Lords headquarters that looks sick and there's like gold everywhere or something. Even though like
their New
they're,
York chapter,
they're like a street gang, but like it would be cool if they had just like the back room of a club that was for them or something, and it was like it was just immaculately cool looking with so much gold everywhere.
I want Robert Townsend now to make a Netflix television show about the Golden Lords.
Ooh, like a prequel or something.
Either a prequel or a later sequel where they're like good guys now.
And I gotta say, the only reason I think this way is not because they're all have the same hair, not because they all wear black and have lots of gold accessories. It was the tiger. As soon as they brought the tiger out, I was like, these guys got to have like a sick fucking base, like with other tigers and stuff in it, and like people with golden trays serving them drinks out of golden champagne glasses and stuff. Like that's what I wanted to see.
Champagne.
You
And,
can't house a tiger in anything less.
Yeah. It has to have a giant golden pillow or a giant golden cage, but like a
I wanted it to be like
wide
next level
cage, just so it doesn't eat the kids. That tiger definitely ate a kid. I couldn't stop thinking about how they just have
cute as fuck.
They have a black market tiger. Who knows where they got it from? Probably Argentina.
in the city. Like it's not like they're on a farm or
tigers,
something. They're just in the city walking around with a tiger on a leash. It's crazy.
Just rolling around with a tiger. That tiger definitely ate a kid. They have a lot of kids hanging out next to the tiger. Tiger gets a little hungry. They don't have the proper food to feed a tiger. What do you feed a tiger? Fucking.
You don't see the tiger again though after this, right? Like it doesn't come back.
Yeah,
it?
You see it in the background.
It's in the club.
When they're in their
base or whatever.
Right. Anyway, yeah, no, I there's no shock. There's no shock to me that they returned in Miles Morales because they're so interesting. Like, it's such an interesting concept for a gang.
Where this take place again? It's outside of New York. Is it New Jersey?
It's Washington. They're over in
Washington,
Washington.
right? Oh, yes, at the very beginning. At the very beginning, Washington. Now.
They're trying to like move across the country, basically.
Expand their empire.
Yeah. I guess expand north, which is awesome. I think that them losing at the end would cause them to become like a guardian angel situation. But there's one really weird scene that like was even more ridiculous than any of like the superhero stuff. And it's like Meteor Man coming down and being like, haha, you have all the regular gangbangers, like the Crips and the Bloods style gangbangers. And he's like, haha, I have been shot by all of you and you can't hurt me. So they just walk over and put down all of their guns in front of them.
Yeah.
They're just like, okay, we're done with crime forever. But then I guess they got all their guns back because in the climax they come back to like take down the ultimate crime lords. There's some levels of crime lords in this movie.
Yeah, it's like the Golden Lords are trying to prove themselves to be at the same level as the rest of the crime lords or whatever, right? And like they're sort of like an enforcer group for like a larger criminal organization of some sort. Which again, cool. It's cool that they're like
Batman.
And they're like
that,
representative.
Like, Illuminati kind of hangout scene with all the kind of top head honchos.
Yes. The criminal overlords of the whole country, I guess. Like maybe
or the whole world. There was some
maybe the whole world.
There
were some people from otherworldly areas. It would be like I kind of am interested to go and read this Spider-Man comic. I know I keep talking about it, but I'm like, I want to see what Spider-Man does to the Golden Lords. Are they sick tigers on him?
Would you start with would you read the 6-issue miniseries and then go seek out the Miles Morales
Well, maybe
comic?
You have to. Maybe they
tie
in
Meteor Man. Well, yeah, I mean, if I can find it, I mean, you might be able to find it online pretty easily.
You can. There's websites that just have every comic book.
Well, I used to have a Marvel subscription that I could just read any Marvel comic because all digitally, like you just get
what? That sounds awesome.
Marvel has really good shit for that. Instead of collecting stacks of comic books, they're just like you get all the new comics and you have all our old comics for like $15 a month.
It was good because I could like leave it.
Dragon Ball comic needs.
I could leave it for like a couple of months and then go back and just read like a whole bunch of stuff at the same time. It's pretty cool. Anyway, I might check that out. I mean, if Marvel owns it, they might even have this on their digital library, like the miniseries, because if they made it, they probably got it on there. You can find pretty much everything. This maybe it might be more difficult than I'm making it out to be though. But yeah, I can probably find that Miles Morales one pretty easily. But I could go do a review, separate video. This is my review of the Meteor Man comic and the Miles Morales beats up the Golden Lords comic.
He has like his list of power. Okay, Meteor
His
Man.
powers seem unlimited. Like I'm like, this
Yeah.
guy has Superman level powers, but he does have a pretty good foil, which is that they drain.
More stuff though, but like some more stuff on top of that. I pulled up a
The
list of his
books
powers.
is so useful.
Yeah. He's got
that part. Yeah,
like superhuman strength, which includes like he's made of stone, like Superman.
He's heavy or whatever.
Yeah, he's super heavy. Like if he falls to the ground, he causes an earthquake, which happens. He's got super speed, healing power, flight, X-ray vision, invulnerability, laser vision, freeze breath. I don't know if he does that in the movie, but it definitely is list.
He uses his breath to blow away the person who's about to like try and
right.
He's got strong
martial arts.
That might be like a separate like move then, because that's not in this list.
Cold breath is. I would assume if he did that for long enough, you get really cold. Right?
Why is this power? One of his powers in this list is imbue fertility. In the comic books, does he like help a family get pregnant?
What the fuck? He's
got super sperm.
Like he gives you the ability to. What does that mean?
The user can. I just looked up what it would be in like the superpower wiki, and it looks like the user can induce fertility. There must be.
With his mind.
Yeah, he must be able to touch your stomach and be like, you're
pregnant now. Yeah.
Easier to get pregnant. Not you're pregnant. You're easier to get pregnant. Like you're more fertile.
You're easier?
You're easier to get pregnant. Telekinesis. I'm not even done with his powers. He's the ultimate superhero. Telekinesis. Zoopathy.
He's got X-ray hearing.
Yeah.
I will say it kind of felt like they just threw in what was needed for the thing, as opposed to like coming in with already having like a set list of powers.
He doesn't even know his powers. He's figuring them out.
Zoopathy, and then like you said, he can touch a book and read its contents for 30 seconds in his head. But then there's another one that the homeless man has, and he can literally bring at least animals back from the dead.
The healing? Yeah. Well, I didn't bring him back from the dead. He fixed his ribs.
Oh,
he healed him.
Well, that dog had a dumpster thrown on top of him, so I think it was pretty.
He was still alive, though. I think he was just almost. He was.
Yeah, it was still alive. It wasn't dead, but
okay. Well,
he healed it completely.
He can heal others.
Yeah, like a Jedi.
It seemed like it absorbed all his powers, though, to do that.
Oh, and you can absorb powers, like when Meteor Man took the Boss Lord, took his powers back, or whatever.
He took the meteor power back.
He sucked the radiation out of him.
The whole origin part of this movie, I always, as a kid, was always, there's a very graphic body horror scene in this. Which,
the skin burns?
Well, he gets hit by the meteor. He's covered in like burns, right? Mm-hmm. And then there's that scene where like the meteor like goes into his chest.
Absorb it? Yeah.
Oh.
And it felt very body horror. And when I remember that scene as like something that even now I'd be like, ugh. And
for its time, I thought it looked pretty good.
For its time, that looked awesome for its time. Some of the special effects in this were very well done. Some were very bad. Some were very, very bad. But some were pretty good. Like when he builds that garden, before they actually show the garden, of course. When he's building the garden, he gets this like. Oh, that's another thing. Maybe that's the imbue fertility.
Oh, Oh, nice. Good call.
Yeah, maybe that's the imbue fertility.
True, yeah. He fertilized the ground.
And then he started a storm. He's got storm's powers also, because he like made it rain.
It's crazy. He has all the powers. He just has every superpower.
He's Cosmic Spider-Man. I would like to see Meteor Man at full power versus Cosmic Spider-Man.
He's like Thanos if he had all the rings on.
Quick side note.
Thanos powers.
I want to see a dark Spider-Man movie with Scarlet Spider. I think that could work because Scarlet Spider was kind of like, he thought he was a clone and he thought it was, you know what I mean? Like that could have like a really good, like unwanted child kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, spoilers for Spider-Man. Scarlet Spider is real Peter Parker who thinks he's a different person.
Yeah.
And the Spider-Man that's rolling around who is Peter Parker is a clone. But then there's Kane, who is an incomplete clone freak. The Clone Wars were fucked, but they're canon to me. They're Amazing Spider-Man canon. That's the canon. That's canon. Oh baby, canon. Clone
And-
Wars.
Just saying, Dark Spider-Man, like Dark Batman. Give me a Dark Spider-Man, Scarlet Spider.
I would love to see. Apparently, Madam Web is cast for the MCU, so I'm hoping that we get I hope that the next Spider-Man, Madam Web, like, at least makes Mary Jane and Ned remember or something like that. But we get more multiverse shit with. I want to see multiverse shit with Spider-Man and other Spider-Men, like Into the Spider-Verse. I don't care about the multiverse with the other MCU shit. I want to see more villains. Anyway. We are talking
Back
about
to Meteor Man.
We are talking. This is more on brand than normal because we get into MCU talk and we're like talking about juice.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. Spooderman.
Yeah, I guess we can move through the plot a little bit more if we want to get to some new talking points.
Yeah, man. MJ. Speaking of the soundtrack, they had a Michael Jackson song, which I thought was. I didn't remember that. That's pretty.
Which probably cost them so much money, and they probably regret.
And it's not even like a well-known.
We could have got 10 more body horror scenes in this fucking movie for that much.
It's not even like a well-known Michael Jackson song. It's just like the intro.
That's probably why.
Yeah,
it's they got it cheaper. They're like, oh,
they'll
know his voice.
Start at the bottom of his fucking discography and work up.
Yeah.
We get the Joker scene where they take off his bandages,
right?
And we get like one of the first laughs that I had, where everyone's like, oh. And it was like, mirror, give me the mirror. It's like, oh, this is how I always look.
Yeah. And then the doctor.
I thought it was funny that there were so many people in the room, like way too many people.
I noticed crazy. That for that scene.
When there's some in the medical world, if there's something that is not not common or whatever, they'll get everyone. I remember when I busted my mouth, the doctor's like, hey, check this out.
Right, that's a good point. But what isn't common is when they're wheeling somebody into the ER, just people gathering around. Which when they're wheeling him into the actual emergency room, there's just random people from the street running in, like family members and stuff. I was like, that seems unsanitary.
That's right.
Yeah, the 90s are a different time.
Yeah, no, I just thought, like, because they literally rammed the whole room. Like, there were so many, like, everybody wall to wall, like, in that tiny room. You'd have thought they would have, brought them into a larger room, maybe. A larger room with even more people would probably be even more funny. So.
They also do a weird bait and switch with Eddie Griffin's character, I noticed, where when they're in the school, they kind of paint Eddie Griffin as, like, an inventor. And then they just.
I thought he was the science teacher or something.
Exactly, and I thought he was going to be, as Ned from Spider-Man puts it, the man in the chair. I thought he was going to like give him some gadgets.
Yeah.
No, he just is a horn dog for the rest of the movie.
He's a horn dog.
He just is like, what if I dress up like Meteor Man and try to bang the woman on
get numbers?
Dates. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's funny. Eddie Griffin is hilarious. He's a funny.
Oh man, he had another really funny part for me, which was when he's fighting like Bruce Lee, like kicking all those guys' asses, and then he goes to the other guy and runs out. Like, even though they've already established many times in the movie, we know that after 30 seconds he loses the power of the book. But it cuts over to Eddie Griffith, and he's looking at his watch, and it like does this dramatic angle where he goes 30 seconds. Damn. But he says it like it's like a crazy action movie where like a bomb is about to go off. It was such a good delivery. It was so funny.
Man. And then the second one with the Vogue battle is like 30 seconds. Thank God.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit homophobic. That scene felt a little bit homophobic because everybody played it like, oh, they're doing a thing that men wouldn't normally do.
Yeah. It was funny though. It was very tame. Like, it was just funny. Like, it was a funny moment.
If they left out the hair part, like doing the Vogue dance battle thing, but then it was like, oh, don't touch my hair, or whatever, like that, I think that part could have been left out.
Yeah, but the idea is pretty funny. Like, he picks up the wrong book, and then his response is that he like over dramatically tosses the book to the other guy, and the guy catches it, and then they just go into it. It's funny. It's a very funny thing, and it was, the song they chose was good.
Oh,
And
yeah, what's
everybody
wrong
gets
with that? I wrote
uncomfortable.
that down.
Everybody's
Move
watching
Your
and
Body
everybody gets
by
uncomfortable.
Move Your
Move
Body
your
by
body.
Black Box, I think.
Yeah, it was good. It was very funny.
Oh yeah.
I had so I don't know if that song ever came out as like a record.
Move your body.
Yeah, but it was fuck. Just
Like as a single? What do you mean?
Yeah, I had it. Sorry, I'm trying to Google what the song, who it's by. It's not showing. Anyway, it's,
Shake Your Body. Is it Shake?
Is it Shake Your Body? Shake your
I always thought
body
it
for
was
me.
Shake That Body.
Shake.
I wrote it down. Where did I put that?
Shake your body.
Yeah, shake that. Shake that body. Yeah. And that reminded me. My mom used to put me in fashion shows back in the day, and that was one of them.
Sorry. Yes, it's called Move This, and it's Technotronic. And I had a Technotronic EP. Technotronic was a very prevalent, like, techno house artist. You'd find them on, like, Dance Mix 95, those kind of albums in the 90s. And I loved that song so much that I was like, Mom, you got to get me that song. And I had a cassette with just that song and another song on the other side. And I remember just, like, listening to it over and
Repeat.
over and over. Yeah. I didn't realize it was Technotronic because there was another artist from the era called Black Box. Anyway, I listened to a lot of that kind of music, a lot of that house music that now like Lady Gaga kind of uses in her music, which is cool.
There's like techno pop,
like techno
like
pop. It's house music essentially.
Right.
Yeah. House music. You know what's funny? You know what the definition of comedy is? James Earl Jones trying on a bunch of different wigs and then settling on the most ridiculous like high top haircut and just sticking with that for the rest of the movie.
I was hoping that every time you saw him, he would have a different wig on. That would have been a fun gag. But he said he had to go youthful. And he went for the youthful look.
The most youthful. The same hairstyle as all like the
Kid
whole gang. The Kid and Play, Will Smith, the whole gang, except for that one guy with the really bad gold wig. Like the really it wasn't.
Oh, it was long. It was like a lion's
like
mane
long hair. Yeah. It wasn't dreads, but it was like
I like that it broke up the uniformity though of the haircuts. I like that there was like, oh, he's got different hair than the rest of them. He must be special. He's part of the biker unit. They all have like motorcycles.
And they have giant buster swords and they're
and big chains that they go but they're made of gold and they hit you.
Yeah, remember Road Rash? That was a great game.
Road Rash games were great on Sega Genesis.
So he then is discharged from the hospital after basically making a doctor look foolish for 30 seconds. And then he slowly learns that he has powers. There's a fun little, superhero power awakening scene that we've seen 1 million times now at this point in our lives.
Of course,
this is when Batman designs his gadgets. This is when Spider-Man figures out he can stick to a fucking wall.
This is where every time there's anybody that ever learns that they have X-ray vision, they immediately try to look at somebody's boobs.
Yeah.
Also, what's the deal with the X-ray? You can't see through underwear. You can't see through belt. You can't see through socks.
That's true.
Was he controlling how deep the X-ray went?
Apparently.
I'm sure that he can, that they just couldn't show it in the movie, so they decided to not show that.
But here's the implication of that, though. Think about it like this. He does see the old nurse, so the old nurse comes, he's like, I'm going to get the hot nurse to come in here. And then the old nurse comes in, who's also a pervert. Turns out she's a huge
probably
pervert.
a fun time. She seemed like a fun time.
Okay, Kaylin. She's probably a fun time to have some drinks with. And other stuff, I guess, if you're into that. Anyway, my point is the rest of the movie, he's rolling around with those powers. I couldn't help but think that like there's this weird kind of pseudo romance subplot with one of the other teachers that doesn't really pay off, and it's like, is he just sitting there in that staff meeting, just like oogling her? And speaking of,
I think they go to their way to make you know he's a good guy and that he wouldn't do that.
That's true.
If he can control it.
That's true.
But he almost did. He tried to do it in the huff.
Tries to do it. So
yeah.
Well, maybe
even good guys
he has super horniness as well. That's another part.
The Sinbad character came out of left field. I knew he was in the movie.
Yeah,
Sinbad,
so strange.
Sinbad is
it was like 1 or 2 scenes or something.
Sinbad is a black man, right?
He's something.
Yeah.
In this movie, his character, since he's got light skin, they play him like he's pretending to be. He's a guy named Bernard who's pretending to be, like a hyper militant sort of. He's not like the militant character. He's like, trying to be overly respectful of his wife or girlfriend.
Sinbad?
Yeah, he's trying to be like.
I
think they were just trying to make it seem like he's like super inexperienced in this part of the city, and he's like coming from the suburbs.
Okay.
And I thought that was kind of what the character read as like somebody who just moved to the city from like a different suburban life, and they're really trying to fit in.
Okay, that's a good point. But through doing that, they made him they just made him act like a white person. I felt like.
I think that was the joke. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what's funny about it.
The reason why I'm asking is because my whole life I was like, Sinbad, a black person. Discuss.
Question mark?
No question mark. Period. A statement, if you will.
He is.
Was he in a movie where he protected a kid?
Yeah, it's called The First Kid.
Oh wait, no, First Kid.
Yeah.
Kazam is Shaq and Shazam is a different movie. And no, but there's that Mandela effect about Sinbad playing a genie, but that's based off of Sinbad being dressed like a genie in one of those like interstitial. He was like, it was like a Saturday afternoon movie, and he was showing something. He was like, "Welcome back. Here's the next part of the movie," and he just happened to. But then Kazam exists, so Mandela effects are stupid.
Cross-reference, yeah.
Mandela effects are the worst meme.
Hey,
people are still creating them. And...
I still believe in that one.
Which one?
Berenstein versus Berenstain?
No, it's always been Berenstain. We just couldn't read because we were kids. Stop. And nobody questioned it.
Stop it. They're not real. None of them are real.
It's also, I
have the books. I'll prove it.
You'll prove that it's
always
spelled the same way that it has always been
We just said Berenstein because we didn't fucking read. Like, we didn't look. You don't have an objective eye when you're a kid. And it's a kid's book. So the parents aren't going to be like, oh, that says Berenstain. In fact, I would posit that many parents were like, stop saying Berenstein, it's Berenstain. It clearly says Berenstain right here. But the kids are like...
There's also people who think that, like, the line in Star Wars is wrong. Or, like, C-3PO never had a silver leg. And if you go back and watch it, he has a silver leg. And it's like, yeah, he always had that. You just were dumb and didn't notice it when you were a kid.
Exactly. And also, you were watching those movies on old CRT TVs.
I don't know, man. There's people. I knew that he had a silver leg because
really?
I watched it so many fucking times as a kid. Yes.
I only noticed that when I saw the Mandela effect video about it. I never noticed it before. Also on the toy,
I did though. So what I'm telling you is that all of them are wrong.
Though. The toy doesn't have a silver leg.
The toy is not the fucking movie.
But it's based off of that character.
Yeah, you know how much more expensive it is to have a C-3PO with a golden leg than it is to just have a full gold
It's probably
C-3PO?
cheaper, because that's one less thing you need to paint.
No,
it's not painted, though. It's just...
They don't paint it silver and then also paint it gold. Like, it's like they just have to use one swash of paint to paint the whole thing.
There's no paint. It's molded.
Are you talking about the
I
toys?
argue that. I think...
they paint the mold. Yeah, they paint the outsides. Anyway.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Whatever. Look, at 40 minutes and 11 seconds, they say Meteor Man, okay? Good night, everybody.
Anyway, yeah, we got sidetracked by arguing about the existence of Mandela effects. Let's never let that happen again.
Let's do a special episode called The Mandela Effect and just get it all out on the table. Tonight is not that night. And let's not do that either. Canceled. Let's do a podcast called The Mandela Effect. Canceled.
Yeah.
Canceled.
it's just us trying to prove to Kaylin forever that it was the Berenstain Bears over and over again. Like, but I don't remember it that way.
Nobody does, because nobody paid attention like that. It's the same thing as
But
Kevin
why
Smith putting in his movies. Hey, do you think that, The Thing as a rock dick? Like, nobody ever thought about it before, but now people think about these things because people started asking questions like that, and it's all because of the fucking internet.
Anyway,
Reed
yes,
Richards.
C-3PO always had a silver leg. Believe me, I've been watching the movie since I was 4 years old, and I've seen it 100,000 times. He always had a silver leg.
It's actually called Stir Wars.
It's called Star Wars, and he has a red arm and a silver leg.
And he's got
Didn't he have a red leg? Wasn't there something red in the new one of the new ones?
Yeah, he had a red arm. You know why they did that? As an homage to when he had a
the
silver
Mandela
leg.
effect?
No, the Mandela effect was not a thing yet. Anyway, so let's move on to the next scene.
There's a Mandela
effect
that Mandela effects at one point didn't exist.
Yeah, no, they always existed.
Sorry, that's the last one.
Shout out
we
to
again?
wait, actually I probably have his name right here.
Mandela, Nelson Mandela.
Wallace Shawn from inconceivable fame from Princess Bride, with a very close delivery of undeniable.
Yes, that's a good call.
Undeniable. He's
undeniable.
I love when he shows up. He's great.
Yeah.
He's such an interesting man, but they kind of like used him a little bit too much at one point, so he kind of got pushed aside. But he was always good when he showed up as like a funny character to be a foil.
I will say,
Madman.
My Dinner with Andre is worth watching.
I was just gonna. I need to watch that. I didn't know he was in it. Why do I know that?
It's like a 2-hour bottle episode about two people having a conversation, but the way the guy he's talking to, like, he's the straight man, and the guy he's talking to is this like weird hippie. But the stories that the guy's telling him, it's wacky. It's a weird thing that got made, and I love the concept of it.
I saw something the other day. I heard of that movie from Community.
Right.
And I saw something the other day where it showed a little snip of that movie, and it was him in it. I was like, oh shit, he's in that. I got to see this now. I got to.
He's
know
Andre.
Abed plays the Andre character who's just like giving it to Jeff, just telling him his whole life. My Dinner with Andre. It was one of those movies in 2020 that I just had on while I was working, like just in the background. I watched a lot of movies, I just put them on. And
you're not going to retain anything like that. I mean, a little bit.
I retained a lot of movies. You'd be surprised. I work in IT. But that movie will stick with me for a long time to come. I got to
check it out.
It's a very interesting watch.
So you give it a watch at the very least.
Yeah, I think I gave it like a 4.
Would you give it a buy?
If you can find it for $5 to $7.
Okay. What about 12?
Are you looking it up right now? That's weirdly specific. I don't know.
What about 12?
What about 12? You got to remember that Kaylin is a DVD collector, so 12 might have a significance that I can't wrap my head around.
No, there's no significance, but really I think I would probably
media.
12 is probably my max. $12.
Yeah, I think $12 would be fine if you got like a special edition.
And it was new, like not opened or anything. Fuck that used shit.
All right, tracks, people. Let's get back to the you guys discussing DVD costs.
Thank you.
You're stuck. We just stuck you in our own version of My Dinner with Andre, where you're watching us have a My Dinner with Andre.
Fucking serious?
I promise you, the movie's a lot more interesting than us trying to figure out how much it's worth to buy the.
How much would you buy it for, though?
You gotta wear your
$12 too much for you. Okay, so he is quickly convinced by the community to basically become a neighborhood protector, and he wears a uniform, and he stops 15 crack houses, stops 11 robberies.
Actually, just very quick, I just want to interject. When he goes to that crack house and blows it all, I'm like, oh man, they are super high. And then a couple scenes later, it shows them all giggling. I was like, oh, I knew it. That paid off for me. I love that.
That's
great.
That's another cartoon moment, because if you somehow were able to do that and blow that much cocaine all over them, they would all be dead. They would have OD'd. Also, the funny part about that is that when they show the newspaper article, that bust he did was $1 billion, and I think that's what they say crack too. $1 billion crack bust is almost an unlimited level oxymoron. I don't think I don't think there's $1 billion,
especially back in early '90s. $1 billion.
I don't think there's $1 billion worth of crack in the world right now.
Well, I mean, depends on how you break it down. Because if you sell in bulk versus sell, was it wholesale versus resale?
Yeah, sure. Anyway, my point is $1 billion.
That's a lot of cocaine. Yeah. I mean, whatever it is, crack.
$1 billion worth of any drug is a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot of drugs. I think that's why I wanted to see a castle made of gold for the gold lords to live inside of. I wanted it to be that overblown. You know, they overblow stuff in certain areas, and I'm like, that's one of them. $1 billion worth of crack.
$10 million worth of crack in 1993 would have been like, holy shit. But $1 billion, I think that was Robert Townsend just being like, oh, whatever. Whatever.
Let's make it a really big number that no one will ever be like, that's not that much.
Or whatever.
Yeah, it's very hyperbolic. There's a lot. I made a note about it that there's a lot of hyperbole things in this movie. I'm gonna have to read to it, but guys keep talking
when he stops the car and the guys fly out through the windshields, you gotta wear your seatbelts.
You do.
I thought that was really good, actually, because
that
was physics, real physics.
And safety, kids. Wear your seatbelts.
Don't drink and drive.
I don't know, though. You go through a windshield, you're gonna be dead or really fucked up. That would have been funny to see realistic. He's like, gotta wear your seatbelt. It just pans over and they're horribly dead.
His delivery though, he's just kind of
yeah, he did. That's another example of him not overplaying him as being a really cool guy. You know, he's just kind of a weird, eccentric, uncomfortable dude.
Yeah.
He reminds me a little bit in his his nerdiness of you remember that movie Goldfinger where Eddie Murphy plays two characters and one of them is a super confident man and the other one is a
what movie
dude with Goldfinger or no Gold Member? No, wait, what's it called? Bowfinger.
Oh, Bowfinger. Yeah. Steve Martin finds a Eddie Murphy lookalike to make a movie with or something like that.
Yeah, and they find his brother who's
he's a turbo nerd,
a strange weird nerd. Yeah, and this the performance reminded me of that because he's just sometimes so over the top nerdy, and then other times just when he's doing his voices in the mirror or whatever, being put down that VCR. I don't have any evidence. He takes the pictures.
Oh yeah, the costume. Yeah.
The other hyperbolic moment. Sorry, I know this is kind of off topic, but when they show the garden and the garden is giant fruits and vegetables, the woman, the TV announcer, the newscaster says, "This will feed thousands and thousands and thousands of people," and that was just another one of those what are you talking about? Sorry, as you were.
No, I like the hyperbole because it makes it seem even more like a cartoony universe. You know, $1 billion worth of crack is so much,
it's so
and
much
so much. But what I'm saying is, I wanted more of it. You know, I wanted to be even more over the top, just a little bit more. Because the gold lords are so over the top. But if they're selling $1 billion worth of crack, then they should have a crazy underground mine full of gold that they have a whole throne room
ironically
at that point.
The film production team couldn't afford that, I'm sure. That's probably the only
they should have sold $1 billion worth of crack.
Yeah. The Robert Townsend should have, to get ready for this movie, the production phase of this movie, he should have sold $1 billion.
But then
worth of crack.
The biggest thing that he does is he brings peace between the police and the gang.
Were they Crips
and the Crips?
Bloods?
Yeah, they were. They were. Crips
Later,
and
they
Bloods.
were 100% Crips and Bloods. I'm wondering if the rapper, I wonder if they were rappers.
Cypress Hill.
Was it Cypress Hill? Was yeah.
Yeah.
No, are you sure though?
Well, so Cypress Hill was the main guy.
Yes.
Sorry, what's his? Cypress Hill is the group. What's his name?
I don't know.
Say again.
I don't know.
Oh,
That would be a good rap name. But Cypress Hill. Oh yeah, it is him too. Okay, it's let me. I pulled them up. Be Real. It was Be Real.
yeah. Be Real. Sorry, my apologies. Be Real. My bad.
So yeah, Be Real. I know you're watching. But then there's the other dude. Was the guy with the hat pulled down at the end also Cypress Hill? Was it Sendog? Here, I've just looked up the fucking.
There was Be Real. There was Big Daddy Kane was in the Golden Lords. Biz Markie was in the crack production lair or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think Tretch from Naughty by Nature was also in the gang with Be Real.
Do you want to hear something crazy too? You know the guy, this is like a weird cameo, but it wouldn't have been a cameo yet. Faison Love, the actor, is the guy who like after Jeff falls off, or right before Jeff falls off of the light post, and he's like accidentally looking into the woman's window.
Oh yeah.
That's Faison Love, and Faison Love looked completely different back then, which I thought was funny.
I mean, it was like 30
That reminded me
years
of
ago.
Back to the Future.
Yeah, so he brings together the gangs of the city to work with the police to rebuild the community that they destroyed. And then he plants a giant garden in the middle of the ghetto. And it's
What's it
so
called? What's
cool.
the scientific word when you get choked up with emotions?
Just call it being choked up. Why do you have to have a scientific term for it?
Because that's what science does. They make scientific words.
Hornery.
It's called oogity boogity boogalo. That's what it's called. That's what happens when that happens. I don't know what the scientific term is. You just say you got a frog in your throat.
I'm
That's
for
scientific
clumps.
enough for me. Yeah.
No, but I think a frog in your throat is a different emotion. Not like choked up. Like frog in your throat isn't being choked up with emotions, is it?
Yeah, but
It's
I know
like-
what you mean when you say choked up. You don't need to tell me the scientific term.
Okay.
And I don't know the scientific term, so I can't tell it to you either. If I'm choked up, I'm going to tell you. It's choking me
Don't
up
worry, I'm
over
going to
here.
tell you at the end of the episode.
Okay, so you don't have anything to add to that. You just wanted to know the scientific term.
Well, when I was watching it, it happened, and so I wrote
Right.
down what's the scientific word when you get choked up with emotion.
Oh, so you
And
know
then-
the answer.
And then I looked it up once the movie was done, and then I'm going to share it with you guys at the end.
That's how you dealt with the
Because-
emotion of the movie. You were like, "Why is this happening to me? I need to know."
Well, like
tell
the
me."
gang comes together, right? Like, so he helped. He mediates between the cops and the gang. Like, yo, guys, let's find a different way to do this, right? And
Yeah, I
then,
understand. I understand why you got choked up. It's an intense emotional scene. Yeah, for sure.
yeah,
It's great. It's a good scene. I didn't get choked up, but I definitely felt it, and I was like, "This is good. This movie is a good movie."
Yeah.
And then he plants the garden, which is so good too. Like it's such a cool thing, and it's like a giant farmers market in the middle of the neighborhood. Such a good, weird comic booky thing to do. You know, like what does he think to do? Just like give them give them something to be like proud of in the community, and then also just like be able to provide them with stuff that they need. Such a cool thing.
Oh, this is interesting. I'm just looking at the IMDb for the movie, and the Naughty by Nature, the rap group were the Bloods, and then the Crips were like Cypress Hill, and then a bunch of rappers.
Yeah, it says that in the on the wiki
At
that
the
I'm looking
opening.
at right now. I kind of just told you guys all that at the beginning, I guess.
Sorry, I got real fixated on that because the funny thing, part of it is that, especially the dude from Cypress Hill looks so young that
yeah.
he looks different. Like he looks different than he looks like in the Insane in the Membrane video in my head.
Which I
Does he
play
have
and
a
repeat
bro
daily.
in that video? Because
Sorry.
I thought he had not cornrows. Anyway, sorry, my bad.
Oh, I think he has cornrows in the music video. Okay, I'm going to do a little plug. We have somebody in the chat asking if we have a YouTube, and we do. We do have a YouTube. It's www.youtube.com/hey, did you see this one? Same as the name of the show you're watching. And thank you for coming in and saying hello. And thank you for saying that our podcast with guest Tim about Mark Twain was a 10 out of 10.
Oh,
great review.
I think Tim brought us up. Thank you, Tim.
He really did. I think guests are the way to go. Honestly, I think guests will bring us great tidings. So, Drew BBLE, Drubel, subbed. Hello. Thank you.
Thank you, Drew.
Thank you, Drew. We really appreciate that because we do a lot of, we put a lot of work into this. I know it's just a kind of ragtag group of people arguing about if the crack is cocaine or not, but we
go on tangents.
We go on tangents.
Did we argue about that? No. I don't think we did. I think we all universally agreed.
Can we argue about how quickly that earthquake was reported on the news?
Instantly.
Yeah. By the time he got home from where he was running from, it was already like all over the news.
Yeah.
He was just immediately. But I mean, if an earthquake happens that's big, I'm sure they broadcast it immediately as it's happening. They're like, everybody, there's an earthquake happening right now. Let's go. This just in. There's a giant crack in the middle of this city.
Crack. Entendre.
Whoa, maybe that was a visual metaphor. The crack was putting a crack in the neighborhood. So he falls, he makes big crack. Shortly after the unification of the gangs and the garden, the Golden Lords learn Meteor Man's secret identity. And they slowly figure out that his powers are slowly diminishing.
What
do you guys think is for that is the foil that he loses his powers and it doesn't immediately turn into like what you would think it would, which would be like the leader of the Golden Dudes finds another meteor and becomes superpowered as well.
I like it. I wish that it was a little bit better explained, but I think that at the top of the show when we were talking about how Thrill Throsby's character was just using his powers intermittently.
Don't give him a cool name.
Oh yeah, I kept saying Thrill Cosby in my head all day, and I'm like, don't stop doing that.
Dill
Bosby. It makes sense that he has his powers consistently through the whole movie because he's just using it for dumb shit, where Jefferson Reed is constantly fucking using his powers. But the thing where it's revealed that if he just sleeps, his powers are rejuvenated. It would have been interesting if he would have learned that earlier, or if the sleeping thing came into play more than him just not being able to be part of his station because he was like completely fried from using his powers all the time. It was just kind of a weird. There's a lot of stuff in this movie that I feel like they go all in on some things, and then other things are just like played for jokes, or they're played for like they're not fully formed ideas. And this is one of those like not fully formed ideas when it seems integral to the plot.
It is.
I like that it grounded him, where like with Superman, I mean, other than the whole kryptonite thing, right? Like, there's not really anything that can stop him. So like, where's the story, right? Like,
it adds a lot of stakes though, because like up until this point they think that he's invulnerable, right? Like they try to kill him so many times.
When he flails, when they first shoot him up and he's like flailing.
Yeah, it's good, man. I love squibs. Squibs are so good. And like that whole, like all those little moments, like those really sort of intent, like the meteor going into his body, like Jason, you were saying, it's like pretty fucked up. He's just like, and it's like crushing him. He's doing a good performance.
It's gross.
Same with that scene where he's getting shot. Like he's like being pretty earnest about getting shot, and it's shot in slow motion, and like they play appropriate music, and you're like, man, this is crazy. But you know he's gonna be fine. But the way they film it it's almost like a Verhoeven level of violence, like a Total Recall or something, you know? Like it's just got that sort of like heavy reality to it.
Recall, not the reboot.
Drew in the
Verhoeven
chat.
one. I said Verhoeven.
Drew in the chat.
Just in case the viewers didn't know.
Drew in the
Verhoeven.
Drew in the chat here is saying that Superman's biggest villain is his invulnerability, which I do kind of agree on because it's why I dislike him. All the villains attack his feelings. I would go so far as to say though that like Superman easily dispatches 90% of his villains, unless they can outsmart him,
probably
like
do
Lex
100%
Luthor,
if he tried.
or they have equal or greater power. And those are like that's why Doomsday was such an interesting villain, and that's why arch nemesis are great villains. I will say, in the MCU, I hate the movies where the villain has the same power as the hero. Fucking Yellow Jacket, don't care for that. Killmonger in the I like Killmonger the character, don't like him in the Black Panther suit. The new movie actually has a little bit of that in it, the new Black Panther, without giving spoilers. This is a new movie. Those kinds of like power versus power things I don't care for, which is why the final battle in this, if it wasn't elevated by the wacky comedy hijinks, it might have been a little bit of a drag. But I'm wondering who becomes Meteor Man's ultimate villain, and it might be something like a Spider-Man where people learn his secret identity. Also, let's just talk for a second about how he still has a secret identity even though he wears no mask. He's
got a suit.
People
looks completely different. Look at me. I look completely different right now.
Yeah, but I know who you are. Look, what's the dude's name from Everything? Who pretends to be him on TV?
What?
The guy from Everything. The guy that's
What's
in
Everything?
Literally every movie.
He's in lots of stuff.
Yeah.
Which guy?
You know,
Tiny Lister? Lister?
not Tiny Lister. The old dude who's like Matt Wayne's brother's dad on the show, and he's in The Ladies Man.
Wayne, or
he says, "Boy, just ate the shit."
Ivory or fucking Keenan.
No. Just 1 second.
He's not their dad. He plays their dad on a show.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
Wait, Karen Parsons was in this? Weird. Sorry, John Witherspoon. John Witherspoon is who I'm talking.
Oh, John Witherspoon. Yes.
Wait. Oh, fuck! I was looking at the Ladies Man IMDb.
Yo, that movie's hilarious.
And I'm like, wait, Julianne Moore wasn't in the movie we just watched. No, I'm stupid. That's what happened there. But when John Witherspoon goes on TV in a shitty cape and says, "I'm him. I'm
the Flying Man,"
it's like, you're clearly not. And then later, when Eddie Griffith puts a mask on and says that's a little bit more believable, he has no powers. It's just kind of like. They don't even do the Clark Kent glasses thing. Look.
It's the MacGuffin.
Look, I'm Superman. I'm Superman.
I kind of, yeah, I don't know. I just chop that up to him being like, everybody already knows who I am anyway, and I'm only protecting my neighborhood, so it doesn't matter because everybody just would know who he is no matter what.
So I think my point though is that the ultimate villain would have to attack his people he loves directly, and I guess what's the Golden Lord leader's name?
I can't remember.
Michael or Simon.
Yeah, let's attack this scientifically. How do you stop a meteor in real life? I'm pretty sure you throw a nuke at it and make it split.
Yeah, just like in Armageddon.
Because in
maybe his arch nemesis is Bruce Willis.
They're gonna say, "Is an asteroid." What's the natural enemy of a meteor? An asteroid.
Yeah, you drill a hole and then you nuke it, says Drew BBLE. Is it Drew?
Oh, what if you make him eat something that explodes?
Look, I think that it's funny that in the opening credits we see a meteorite hit another meteorite. That's how the shard is sent to Earth. I thought that was funny. So I guess you defeat a meteorite by putting something in front of it that's bigger. So
well, then maybe that's why it has to be two of the same powers.
So it's like,
I think you're not wrong, though, Caleb, about the nuclear option. I think that's like what they think is the best option. Is like but you don't try and split it in half. You just try to alter its trajectory. Like you catch it early enough, and you can just like.
But isn't that the
push
plot,
it off course?
Isn't that the plot to Superman 4, Nuclear Man?
Nuclear Man. Superman 4?
Which movie has that shitty fight scene in space? Because that's Nuclear Man, I thought.
Wasn't that the third one?
I think that isn't he fight himself? Isn't it like
evil? No,
he
fights like the
evil
nega Superman.
Yeah, it's Superman 4, Nuclear Man. He looks like a
Oh,
pro
damn!
wrestler.
They took our idea.
Well,
What a bad name for a villain.
yeah, it's also
Nuclear
an
Man.
awful movie. It's fucking compared to like the first Superman movie. It's dog shit.
Yeah. I don't know. I was never huge into the Superman movies. I don't know why. I could never get into them.
Hey man.
Well,
They
so
were
where
the
this
only-
movie surpasses that is they could have just done him in a spandex suit, but they added those textured or those like kind of like armor, not armor, but like, you know what I mean, like those
Yeah, he just looks like he's wearing sort of like a combat vest or something, but it's
Yeah.
like over top of his actual body. Yeah, no, they just look like big sort of poofy muscles. Like he's wearing like a weird Kevlar vest.
probably like some sort of foam or sponge or something.
Yeah, but it looks cool. Like the way it looks is pretty cool. I wonder if like they had wanted to do a different like color scheme, or if gray was always the option, because like gray just seems like they're like, so this is what it's gonna look like once, like it'll look different once we paint it. And like he comes in, and he's like, no, I like it like this. It looks cool.
Okay, so
I think the green
cool
and
gray.
gray. I think the green and gray goes well.
yeah,
together.
that's what I
Oh,
was
it
going to
does.
say.
I like it a lot,
Is
yeah.
green and gray complementary? And then also, if you look
Where's the
at
color wheel?
if
You
you
guys
look
have
at
a
the
color wheel?
comic, if you look at the comic book version of him behind Steve, there, like it's blue. I know it's like a
I thought
gray
that was
blue.
purple. Is that not purple?
Oh fuck.
Well, yeah, that's in comic books a lot of the time when they're coloring black, they'll just do it blue. But yeah, I don't know.
To
You
answer your
can see it's only like very harsh colors. They probably did like a limited run where they did a very specific amount of shading where they didn't have to use a lot of colors. Like now it's like all photo printed. You can do as many colors as you want, but there was a time when they would like print it on newspaper press and they could only use specific colors, or else it cost
Right.
more money to do.
To
Anyway.
answer your question, Drupal in the chat, he asked a very good question. Was Meteor Man and Blank Man the same writers and producers? No.
Blank Man. That's the one with
Blank
Damon
Man,
Wayans, right?
Blank Man is a Wayans Brothers production. It's a
Is it a
superhero.
parody?
It's a parody. It's a satire. It's got a lot of the people from In Living Color in it. And
Is
then
Jim Carrey in it?
I don't think so, but it's got like Damon Wayans, David Allen Greer, like Robin Givens is in it, Michael Wayans. It's the screenplay is by Damon Wayans, and Michael Bender is the director. Michael Bender, he's been in he's done a bunch of shit. If you look at his IMDb, he made the Comedy Store miniseries that came out recently, Reign Over Me, Minority Report.
Minority Report.
Yeah,
That was a good one.
yeah. I think he directed it. This is what I'm understanding here. But then on the other side, this man made this movie.
Robert Townsend.
Robert Townsend. And Robert Townsend is one of those actors who's just been around forever, and he's in shitloads of stuff.
Nice.
He's still working. Like
What's his last thing?
he's directed episodes.
Meteor Man 2.
He's directed
He's back, baby.
episodes of the new Wonder Years.
New Wonder Years?
Yeah,
Is Frank Savage all grown up? Does he have kids?
they rebooted the Wonder Years as a black family in the 80s,
Oh,
I
okay.
think, instead of the 60s. Or maybe it is the 60s still. But he's worked on Black Lightning. He's worked on, he did a couple Bill Cosby things before all the news dropped. Oops. Let's see. I want to see some other stuff that Robert Townsend's actually been in. He's been in 49 things. So
Wow. Wowie.
So he's been around. Plays Dr. Napier Frank in Black Lightning, which was a pretty big deal show for a minute. I think actually based on a DC comic. Another predominantly black series. Oh, he did a lot of his stuff actually before Meteor Man. Holy shit, I didn't know any of this. He worked a lot in the 70s and 80s. Wow.
Would we get in trouble if I played Shake That Body right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Please don't play a licensed song. You can play. We should have played it before. It doesn't. It's okay to play stuff on Twitch before we start the show, but to use this show, especially putting it on YouTube later,
Right.
we'll get flagged as fuck. Oh
You
yeah.
don't want that.
Shake that
Yeah,
body. Shake that body for me. Shake that body. People, don't you know it's about time? Can't you feel that rhythm going fast? See, I had that shit on cassette when I was a kid.
You had it. Was it the same song multiple times on one side, or was it just that one?
It was
just one
that
song
on one side and another song I can't remember on the other side.
You could have put way more songs on that tape.
No, you couldn't, because there was less tape on the reel.
Oh.
They used to make EP tapes that only had a little bit of tape on the reel.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that's a little deep dive on that. I don't know how to navigate ending the shows because we started at such a weird time.
That's true. Yeah,
we're fine.
Well,
yeah, we're close to the end. Though,
I guess
well.
10:30 would be 2 hours, and it's only 10 after 10. So
Yeah, well, let's get to the end of the movie though, because we see him losing his powers. They figure it out, I guess, slowly, and then they attack. They attack again at like an event, and he's not able to like protect everybody, and that's when he finds the blood in his hands and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we kind of get thrown into this, like the gangs are taking over again and destroying the town, and everybody's freaking out about it, but nobody wants to help, and he's trying to like get people to help him, and then the town kind of decides like we got to vote him out. Whatever, like we got to vote him out of the neighborhood, and he's like, you don't need to vote me out, I'll just leave.
He's like, no,
sorry for trying to
I'm
help.
just gonna go to New York.
You don't need
it's
to
so sad because he's like, man, you guys are fucked.
They turn on him immediately.
Yeah, like,
as soon as the people are like, oh well, he's bringing all this fucking heat to it,
and they're the ones that kind of like forced him into doing it too,
exactly.
right? They're like, you have to help us, like you're
specifically
you get
his
shot.
own parents.
Yeah,
there's kind of this subplot where his dad keeps getting harassed by like the golden lords, but he refuses to back down. But since he's an old man, they don't really.
He's not crossing any street for no one.
Exactly. They don't really harass him that hard. But then things kind of go south, and then he's like, well, you gotta be a hero now. And Jeffrey Townsend's like, there's a scene where he tells a kid who's being bullied to literally just run away from the bullies.
Eat your food fast and run.
Which is like pretty good advice. Like, stand up to your bullies, but like, don't fight.
I would argue that.
Don't fight. Why are the teachers advocating this kid to fight his bullies? Anyway,
and both the parents. Yeah.
And both the parents. I get the parents.
We teach our son to kick ass.
The parents are psychos.
Not to run away.
Fuck. But you don't bitch out on that.
No.
On being, if you have literal superpowers, fucking use them. That's my advice to any aspiring superhero.
With great power comes great responsibility, Jason.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
I've never heard that before. Is that from something, or did you guys just make it up?
I hear that two ways though. When I hear that,
I heard it in my dreams.
I hear that two ways. I hear it as definitely fight the supervillain, you fucking wuss. And also, don't use your superpowers to like be a professional
look at people naked,
or look at people naked and make money. Don't be like Booster Gold. Be like Superman, but don't be like Superman because he sucks. Be like Batman. Batman kind of.
Be like Batman. Batman is the worst.
Batman kind of sucks too.
Ultimately,
no offense, but Batman movies are all about the villains.
Endlessly tortured man who is obsessed with ending
but
crime.
It's weird because they never
crime.
really they always skirt around the fact that Bruce Wayne is just as psycho as his rogues galleries.
Yeah,
I don't know if they really skirt around. In the movies they skirt around it, but like they just constantly are like, you're just as mentally ill as the rest of us.
The Joker says
that
a lot, and the Riddler says that a lot. Like, you're just as fucked up as we are.
He is. He's maybe even more. He's obsessed with taking them down, but never getting rid of them.
Look, Drew, but we all agree that Batman is amazing. I'm just saying that he sucks.
Oh, I love Batman.
He sucks insofar as being a hero, a traditional hero.
I don't think if you became a superhero, you should not act like Batman.
Yeah.
You should really try not to act like Batman.
Especially if all of your wealth is like, you have Jeff Bezos level money and you use it to like R&D, all this crazy, like Jeff Bezos could be Batman. He's got Bruce Wayne. He's got significantly more than Wayne Enterprise money. I would say. I think Elon Musk.
That's probably true.
Before
Elon and Jeff. Oh man, they would probably be the hero and villain.
Guys, what you're describing is just two different versions of Lex Luthor. One
it's true.
with hair and one
That's
without hair.
Actually, you're right. Just bald Lex Luthor and slightly less bald.
One of
Lex
them's
Luthor.
fake hair though, isn't it? Isn't it? Plugs
He's got plugs. Yeah. Well, yeah. Jeff Drubel says that Jeff Bezos and Elon are tiny wimps, but I'm sure that they could have. Look at Vince McMahon. He was a huge, jacked up, juicy roid freak by the end of his wrestling career. When he was just an announcer in the 80s, he was a wimp. He's a little wimpy dude, right? And he became a juicy, roidy freak. Imagine if Elon Musk got on the juice, started lifting weights, started juicing up. He got trained by a shadow organization of ninjas. Fucking got
Joe Rogan?
Yep. Got the go ahead from a Ra's al Ghul type figure in his life.
Who are you talking about right now?
Now I'm talking about Elon Musk becoming Batman.
Listen, we all know that he's an asshole piece of shit. Like he would never be Batman.
I know, but like the perception.
But you just wish that he took ninja lessons instead of being a dick.
I don't wish it.
Instead of buying Twitter.
The thing is in universe, I'm sure that there's lots of people who think Bruce Wayne is a piece of shit. And there's lots
that's a good point.
There's a lot of because he's a fucking.
He also has to do that to protect his
billionaire,
his friends and family, though.
Bruce Wayne could do a lot more.
Ban all the people.
Bruce Wayne could do a lot more with his money to help Gotham than to go out and fight crocodile monsters in the sewers.
Yeah, they go out of their way in the comics and movies to make sure that the Wayne Enterprises is not like a abusive company that like causes people to shit themselves while they're sorting packages or whatever.
True. I guess
they still do that.
Oh yeah, they're pissing in jars hard. Anyway, let's
hard
pissing jars.
So, we fast forward a bit and, he's going to leave, but then the gang ultimately just completely destroys the entire block. And then he decides to stand up to them. And, the guy sort of tricks him and says, like, I'm sorry this had to happen to your neighborhood, but I'm going to leave now. I'm going to New York. I'll see you later. And then he just starts kicking the shit out of him, beating him up.
I have a question about Simon. What's the fuck is the deal with the weird the ADR that they do throughout this movie for him?
They do a lot of ADR on him.
So inconsistent, though.
My assumption is that the actor probably was able to give this very like deep, imposing performance at certain points when it's quiet, but as soon as it got loud, his voice probably couldn't keep that low register. So he's like, everything all right, and like his voice probably just sounds normal, and they're like, he doesn't sound as imposing anymore. Let's ADR these lines, and you just speak deeply and lowly during an action
maybe
sequence.
They just at some points they were like, just act it normally, and then we'll ADR and you being like, I'm the villain man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I don't know if that's true. That's just kind of it felt that way to me. It's like his volume is so high for like the lowness of his voice that they might have just did it to make him sound scarier at points.
That's true. I thought it was like part of his superpower, but then he didn't even have the powers yet.
That's his one power.
I can talk at a deep register.
I can talk very deeply at any volume. So that's when what's his name shows up. The guy, I don't know his name. He was famous in like the 80s and early 90s, but he shows up. He plays the homeless guy, and he arrives and pulls all the guns out of everybody's hands.
Oh, that guy. Yeah.
With telekinesis.
Yeah. Some weird guy with a sitcom who, I don't know. Everybody kind of forgot about what he did.
The sitcom was good.
The supporting actors on the sitcom were fantastic. One of them got their own show called That's So Raven.
Mm-hmm.
and then that show got a spin-off where That's So Raven.
Oh, that's not so Raven.
That's extra Raven.
It's so much Raven. So he shows up and pulls all the guns out of their hands, and then he gives there's like a struggle over the meteor, I think, and then they both get
Yes.
the powers.
He drops the meteor. They pull the meteor in half. Then they have a dance battle.
I believe one of the community citizens tries to throw something at the Golden Lords and hits that character instead and makes him drop the meteor.
Chekhov's record.
The record's back, baby. Yeah, they get a lot of shit thrown at them from the neighborhood who's gaining its courage back or whatever. And then we get a superhero fight that consists of mostly visual jokes, which is fun and fun.
Tiny breaks both of his hands and his leg, and I'm pretty sure his teeth. He breaks his teeth.
He tries to bite him too. The Sonny Lister subplot of him breaking his various limbs on Meteor Man's stomach is fantastic, because Sonny Lister or Tiny Lister is he's in a lot of things as a super big imposing monster who always,
like the president of the United States in The Fifth Element, or isn't he the president of the world? I can't remember. He plays a president, but that's
I actually bought that on
Blu-ray. It's funny. It's like before Idiocracy, where it's just like this giant as the president, everybody around him is so small, so tiny.
Dude, if The Rock becomes the president, because of course he's going to become the president if he actually runs in 2024. Idiocracy and what movie did you say it was? Minority Report?
The Fifth Element.
The Fifth Element?
Yeah.
They just called it. They're like, someday some movie star juiced up roid freak is going to become the man of the country.
Oh yeah, didn't Joe Rogan call out The Rock for using enhancements or something like that?
Yeah, but he's like, no duh. Obviously. Have you seen me? Look at these fucking 90-inch pythons.
I heard something about people getting pissed off for actors using enhancements for a role. Like, that to me doesn't make sense. If it's a sporting event, like some sort of sport, that makes sense not to have enhancements.
What it is,
but for a role for a movie, who gives a fuck?
The gym bro community, they think that any enhancement is bad, but it's in that vein of you obviously do it. It's kind of that thing of, you know how like Chris Pratt shows up as an action hero after playing the slovenly, like schlubby guy for years. He just shows up and now he's an action star, and or when Rob McElhenney from It's Always Sunny, he became a fat guy, and
hilarious.
Then
yes, we've all seen fat guys get ripped.
No. But what I'm saying is, you can just pay for that, and because if you have the right kind of money, if you add steroids to that, that's when you get like, The Rock. It's the point. Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'm sure that might be controversial to say. I'm pretty sure Arnold Schwarzenegger used performance enhancing.
I think he's au naturel. I think he might be au naturel.
But like later, at Last Action Hero era. You know what I mean? When he's still jacked,
when he was veiny, when the vascularity was spotted from a orbit.
I think my point is that performance enhancing drugs like that, they have doctors who can administer them in a safe way, and for roles in Hollywood, you have to look your best, obviously, especially if you're going to be an action star. I think that
and a lot of them
don't
do
not
it
Bruce
like
Willis.
It's not
Die Hard. Awesome.
But that's not who Bruce Willis is. That's not his character. He's not a jacked up, juicy freak. Yeah. He's a wisecracking guy. He cracks wise.
Okay. He's an everyman.
Yeah. He's John Everyman.
He's not able to wield an enormous Gatling gun and run down like an exploding battlefield.
Exactly.
I agree. Like I don't think that it should matter if it's all for a visual medium, and they're not doing it forever. They're doing it for a couple of days to look like that. Like a lot of people, they like don't drink water for 2 days before they go on set.
Zac Efron.
It dehydrates you and it makes your skin look tighter over your muscles.
That's the Zac Efron thing of him being like, for Baywatch, I filmed that movie and I looked like that for that movie, but that's not.
Killed himself because of that.
Yeah, and
this killed himself, but like it was like extreme.
It was extreme. And then this new movie he's in, where he's in this wrestling movie, he went to another extreme where now he's got like this like roid belly, because wrestlers in the 80s had roid belly, and he looks fucking terrible. And I don't know at his age how he kind of can come back from that, which is kind of scary.
Right.
This whole thing, the whole thing with The Rock comes from. Have you heard of the Liver King? I know, Steve, you know who the Liver King is.
I think I heard something about that recently. I think it ties in with it. Yeah.
The Liver King was this guy who has a whole company built off the back of him being au naturel. But this guy, if you look at him, he is not 100% impossible. And then there were some emails leaked, and he had to admit. And I think that The Rock was like, yeah, obviously, and also everybody does it in Hollywood. And then Joe Rogan.
The difference is that The Rock, I don't think, has like, vitamins and shit that he's selling to people, whereas the Liver King is making money off of people thinking that he looks that way by taking the vitamins and exercising, right?
The Rock sells
there's something that's false advertising and shit, whereas The Rock is just like, he needs to look big for the movie roles that he's in, and
he just sells cool Under Armour shirts that look great over your fucking pectorals, which any pectoral works.
Anyway, back on tracks, because we're getting close to 2 hours here.
Sorry, what'd you say, Kaylin, though, before we just...
I was saying, I wonder if Lululemons can make my butt look great.
They absolutely can. Those are magic. Try them on. You'll feel great.
They're probably comfy.
I have a pair of men's Lululemons, and...
Are they tight? Are they tights? Or are they pants?
No, they're like sleep pants, but they're tight, but they're Lululemons, and they're for men.
Interesting. Does Madison like your butt in them?
She likes my butt all the time, baby.
Nice. Sorry, Steve. Go ahead.
That was our Lululemon advertisement for the week. We got
another
paid
horrible company.
$200,000 for that.
That's true.
Are they Canadian? They're Canadian, aren't they?
Oh, who gives a fuck?
Those things are probably made in a sweatshop.
Cares? What the fuck do you care about Lululemon?
I'm pretty well. You have to have
tracks,
1%
tracks,
content.
Tracks.
I think there's a rule.
There's not a rule that we have to
if
mention
the host
Canadian
is yelling
products.
Tracks, here's a new rule for the show. If the host is yelling, like physically yelling Tracks, back on track, everybody.
Yeah, let's go. He gets beat up and thrown over the building, and then the dog gets crushed. And then the bad guy gets everyone to shoot him a bunch of bullets, and it's cool.
And he likes it.
And then
he loves it, in fact.
He shows up again in his costume, and he says, "I don't think so," or something. And then he fights him again and kicks the shit out of him. And then his powers are leaving him again after they heal the dog. And then a whole bunch more criminals show up in all sorts of cool cars and shit. And I love that there's like an old mobster car from like Dick Tracy. The guy gets up. And they all have high-powered rifles. And you think, Meteor Man is fucked this time. But then no, all the gangs show up. They show up and they basically like Spartan 300 style like pincer them in the street. All the gangsters from all across the country and the world perhaps have, I don't know, like 100. The thing is this moment is meant to feel very triumphant, but to me I was like, oh my god, there's so many people with guns in this neighborhood.
So many.
Right now. It's crazy.
So many people with guns.
And they're all criminals. Like there's no police there. It's just all illegal weapons.
They had permits.
There's like no
maybe, but that means they're just
movie.
marching around the cities with like full of machine guns. That's crazy. It's like 2 miniature armies. Anyway,
did you guys catch that? There's no
what
police presence in this whole movie.
Well, there is during
there was that
the
one
gang
scene where he's
scene,
the police and the gangs. Remember?
The one police officer.
You said no.
Okay.
One is.
The rest of
whole
the time.
The unification there was meant to imply that the two gangs are working together to make the neighborhood better with the aid of the police. Like the police are also
the police
helping,
also gave their guns up, and then vigilante justice reigns from that point on. That's my headcanon.
Right. We're at the end of the movie where the gangs, the bad gang, gets scared away by the good gang. The good gang being the amalgamation of the Crips and the Bloods.
The Crips and the Bloods.
They're unstoppable.
That was 100% Robert Townsend trying to like say something politically, like say something.
Yeah,
social.
if we all hold hands, then we just got to work together to fix our
Crips
neighborhoods,
and the Bloods
guys.
just work their shit out and help.
That's
out
where I
Meteor
got
Man.
choked up.
Well, that's pretty good.
Long-time member of the Crips, Kane, got choked up over this. He's like, I remember when this happened in the 90s.
What you need is a lock-in. Remember the lock-in episode of South Park? That's what you need, bitch ass.
Am I the bitch ass?
No, it's fucking Jimmy calls somebody a bitch ass. That's hilarious. It's a different time. I'll do my final thoughts.
Yeah, let's get to the final thoughts. After he scares all the gangs away, the movie kind of just sort of ends. But yeah,
it's true.
Good.
They got the freeze frame on them.
Yeah. We like it. We liked the movie, but let's find out why. Jason.
Here's what I had to say about the film. That's right. I guess this is a movie based on my metrics. Is there a high-speed chase? Not really. There's explosions, though. I had a pretty good time watching based on nostalgia alone. Oh, I wrote that earlier. I think this is more of a kids/family movie than I remember. Interestingly enough, I was a kid sitting with my family or another family when I watched it. But when you're a kid, you're like, this movie is for me. This is my canon. Anyway, it's a great prototype for the superhero genre. It's no Batman 89, but as far as family-oriented superheroes go, you don't really get anything like this again for a long time. And I think Ant-Man is like the next time you see sort of a family-oriented superhero movie that's well done like this. The special effects range from interesting to bad, but it adds to the camp. I did like some of the special effects in those, but I hated some of them. Like there was some green screen shit that like looked so fucking bad. Like even the like when he was flying low to the ground looked so bad, but like it's just an interesting like take on a superhero that can fly being scared of heights. Yeah, I did like that. Great soundtrack to boot. The soundtrack was great. We talked about that. I give it a 3 out of 5. Okay.
Ooh.
I recommend it to anyone who's in like the 34-ish to 40 range, who has kids and want to share the nostalgia. I give this here. I'm just going to read this verbatim because I just decided to write it this afternoon after watching the movie, and here's what I wrote. I give this movie a green meteorite smashing down from space and turning mild-mannered music teacher into a Superman.
Was he a music teacher?
Yes.
Oh.
I mentioned that in the last 2 hours. I mentioned that a few times. Jefferson Reed.
His instrument gets stolen at the beginning.
His instrument gets stolen. His name's also Jefferson Reed. Reed,
like in a saxophone.
Like the reed of a wind instrument or a brass. I'm done talking about Meteor Man for the next.
All right, Kalen, your
probably
final
the rest
thoughts.
of my life.
Oh, thank you. It was an enjoyable watch. It was a grounded superhero movie with heart. I did like the design of the costume quite a bit. We talked about like how like the kind of like fake muscles or whatever, but also just like I like the color design. I liked the trim, like the little trim parts. So me personally, if I can find it, it's going to be a buy, but at the very least, it's a watch, and I give it a feeling of verklempt. That's when you feel choked up. That's the science word.
Verklempt.
That's the science word.
It says that the V is an F. I looked it up.
Verklempt. It's like Yiddish.
It said when I looked up the enunciation of it or a pronunciation of it. So there's a spelling, and then it has the little. Oh shit! Am I still here? Am I still
Yes.
here?
It's
Yes.
It's the thing that I saw verklempt. Anyway, I'll take your word for it if you say so. But that's what I give it, and MPA AA number of 32,449.
Wow. Right in the
All
middle.
right. Still not sure if that's an actual science term or not, but it's...
I'm verklempt, Heimly. That sounds pretty scientific to me. Give me the gefilte fish. I'm verklempt.
I'm choked up for this already. Over here. So Meteor Man, I liked it. It was good. I it made me nostalgic, but not because I watched it a lot as a movie. It made me nostalgic for this type of movie. I think
Yeah.
this movie was a lot more prevalent at the beginning of the 90s and up until the late 90s. They kind of started going into like Freaky Friday territory, and then these types of like kids oriented movies got a little bit different in tone. They weren't willing to make any kind of like crazy like border PG-13. Like feels like a PG-13 movie, right? But if it was, I don't think it was. Was it? Does anyone know?
I don't know.
Fuck.
Our guy in the chair, Jason.
I assume it was rated G.
Yeah, but like it feels
maybe
almost
just
like
PG, not PG-13. Maybe just PG.
That's what I mean. Yeah, but like it feels like they just kind of got the cutoff, because there are some moments in it, like the asteroid going to his body and him getting shot, and like that kind of stuff is like pretty violent imagery.
Yeah.
And it's not like that you can.
But there's
film
no
it.
blood.
There's no.
Sorry,
I know
I'm
that.
sorry.
I know that. But what I'm saying is like the energy of it is like that many squibs going off on a person's body is very violent looking. Like no matter who you are. Anyway, what I'm saying is like imagine it was PG-13. What would they do? What would they add? Blood? Would there be lots of blood? Probably not. Anyway,
It was PG-13.
What was it? Okay. It just feels like it like more of an 80s movie than a 90s movie, but as much of a 90s movie as like stuff that came out around it. It has the sort of sensibilities of like 80s storytelling, and I like it because it's simple. It's a simple story. It's something that you can kind of just like chill and watch and feel emotions based on the performances and the writing and the music. It's not like an amazing story. It's just like a simple story, but it's fun, and there's lots of cool ideas that are floating around inside this thing. Like I love the gang so much. I keep thinking about the gang. I told you earlier, I have thought of a gang in my D&D universe that I'm going to call the Goldilocks gang, and they're going to all have golden hair now. It's going to be great.
It's pretty good.
They're going to have a tiger. For sure they're going to have a tiger. Like, maybe something like a were tiger or something. Anyway.
Liger?
No. I'm not a pervert.
No, of course not.
Only perverts have ligers.
I think that there's a lot of good stuff in this movie, and I do recommend it. It's something that I saw maybe once when I was like 5 or 6 years old, and I forgot about until recently. And watching it made me be like, there was a time where this would just get made. Like this movie would get made, and we don't get this kind of shit anymore.
We don't get new shit like this anymore.
No. So I'm gonna give this movie Robert Townsend faking that his powers are there even though they're not, and then having a coffee can full of meteorite fall into his hand and getting his powers immediately, and it being dope.
Nice.
This movie's good. This movie maybe rules. Like I kind of love it.
Yep. I think my 3 out of 5 rating is like extremely fair.
I went in thinking it was more like an airplane or like a parody
More
type movie.
campy?
That's what
I thought it was
Blank
I thought-
Man is.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a lot of like that sort of visual absurdist comedy, but it's like super like normal storytelling with like some jokes, and the jokes are some of them are pretty good, but it's not like joke after joke after joke after joke the entire movie, which I appreciated. Anyway, sorry. I think that's all of our final thoughts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I always fuck this up, even though I do it every week with you guys. I always feel like I'm gonna fuck it up.
You got this.
For Jason and for Kaylin, I'm Steven.
For Jason, for Steven, for Kaylin, I'm Jason.
And for Steven and Jason, I'm Kellen.
And I got one question for everybody. Hey, did you see
this one?
Hey, did you see this one?
Oh, bada bing, bada boom, bada.
I'm a Meteor Man. Did you see it?
Did you see this one? Hey. Do we have outro music playing right now?
Yeah, I do. You're just saying, hey, did you see this one over and over again? Is that the new, for 15 seconds? I'm going to say, hey, did you see this one over and over and over again?
And then what happened?
Meteor Man.
Eh.